I would argue most men, when you buck, they buck back. They largely don't respond kindly to aggression, threats, orders. You know what I mean? We tend to buck back. And sometimes it will cause and sometimes, like you said, it would be to the detriment of the relationship. Because when he buck, he gonna be like, the hell with all of this shit.
To me, femininity is a superpower, right? Pretty much going off what Marcus said. I think that the issue is a lot of times some men have abused their power. So there's instances where women feel like they have to stand up so they don't get ran over again, right? So let's just say, sports combat. We're not going to say this is your situation, but I could say a situation similar to yours. Let's say if a man cheated, you might not have ever looked through anyone's phone before. You probably let him do him. If he was going out somewhere, you wouldn't question him. You gave, he had that liberty to be able to do what he wanted to do. I'm sure in most cases, similar to yours, the next female's relationship would now be, now they starting to need verification and stuff like that. Right. And any situation where a man may have either been dishonest or abused his power can cause a woman to sometimes bring the older situation into another situation, not because they want to go into a situation in bad faith, but just because they don't want to be taken advantage of.
And by the way, I love your hairstyle. You did that on the natural side. That's fine.
I think that's why a lot of women talk like that nonsense when they talk about like, oh, I'm not doing husband things for a boyfriend. They say like I'm not gonna cook for him and all that type of stuff. I think that come from like situations like that, even though it's idiotic to say something like that. But I think it always comes from situations like that. And they think it makes sense. Like,
I mean, but at the same time, it's a traumatic event, right? So that's how humans respond to trauma. So if anything that ever happens to you, you try not to let it happen to you again. If you got robbed before, probably for the rest of your life, your head on swivel, right? It's a natural response. So it doesn't mean that it still should happen, right? It's important for females to go into a situation in good faith, right? And women's intuition can be good. It can be good, but it just has to be directed in the right way. And your best defense against the cheating is to, in most cases, pour into that man. If you're giving that man everything and you're not leaving anything on the table, then it's a lot harder for him to do that. It's always going to be outliers. There's always going to be situations, but I would encourage the women to not go into a new situation in bad faith, because at that point you just might miss your blessing. And unfortunately, it's one of those situations where it's no risk, no reward. Relationship is full of risk. You both are extremely vulnerable. You have to put your trust into another human who has autonomy. So that's it's a scary thing when you have to put your faith into someone else. But it's a necessary evil for you to have a successful relationship. You have to have that faith and you have to have that trust in that person. Of course, in your vetting process, you have to pay attention to the signs. And a lot of us don't pay attention to red flags. When I look at people right now, I'm like, what's your family look like? I'm looking to see if you have obesity in your family. I'm looking to see if you have trauma, if you had dysfunction. And I'm shying away from that. And some people may say, hey, I'm not giving them a fair shake, but I don't care, because at the end of the day, I'm putting my trust in a person. So it's like there's certain things that I think we should avoid, but we might like a person, we might be really attracted to a person, and we'll ignore the red flags in the beginning and try to shape a person into what it is that we want. Like Will was saying a little earlier, I always tell people to just be yourself in a relationship and don't try hard. And as silly as it sounds, you say relationships is work, but getting along shouldn't be work, right? Pouring into a person shouldn't be work, because you should naturally want to do that, because like I was saying a little earlier, that's an extension of you. You should want to pour into that person. Investing in them is investing in you, right? And if you a slob, be a slob in the beginning. If you're a neat freak, be a neat freak in the beginning. If you like to go out, then go out. If you're a homebody, don't try to make it seem like we about to go to all these restaurants and everything for things that are just not sustainable.
That's interesting what your because I think those are good indicators and stuff. For me specifically, I think the number one indicator for me is willingness. Because like say she does have a family history of being like obese, if she's willing, like a real, this goes to the full submission thing. Like a woman that's really willing to like dedicate herself to making sure she doesn't turn out to be like that. Cause we have to be attracted. I'm gonna speak for myself. I have to be attracted to you to stay in a relationship and have sex with you, or it won't work. It just won't. So if she's dedicated to working on maintaining that, if like you have obesity, so you put it together a regimen, like, okay, I'm gonna go to the gym 3 times a week, or I'm gonna make sure my camera just went out.
Yeah, but we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure that I have a workout schedule that I'm really stringent on, because I don't want to put myself in a position where the man that I love is getting a new relationship. Because if I met you and I was attracted to you, I know we all age, but if you completely transform into a new person, that's like me completely transforming into somebody that beat you. You didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for that. That ain't cool. You know what I'm saying? Like that ain't cool. But I think, Trev, you're on point with that. I think sometimes in the community, parents aren't perfect, and we got a lot of different type of scenarios for family circumstances. So just for me specifically, I think I give more leeway to that, to factor that in. But the willingness, I'm negotiating. I'm not negotiating on that, right? I need to know you willing to adhere to whatever like plan or program that I'm trying to push forward, so I can ensure those things that would be an issue that you discussed, we can prevent moving forward.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different than Trev on that one. And maybe it's because I just never had problems with from the certain types of problems from women, but I don't take that much into consideration certain things about their family, only because like I'm not gonna say I'll take you away from your family, but now you my family now. Like we building our own family, and I really don't care what they got going on. They don't got no say over here. If I'm working out, you working out. I don't care what your family look like. That don't. Yeah. And that's kind of always how I've been. Like, and I think a lot of times, like, families fell at protecting them and stuff like that. So I don't be liking people families anyway. Like, girls be like always got a story of how they was, something happened in their family. And I don't like how they was protecting you anyway. So I don't really got too much rap for people families.
So I definitely understand both of your sentiments, but what I would say is that there are situations where certain people, certain things have a propensity to fail, right? So let's just say I really like certain cars. I'm probably, if you want to not break down, you're probably going to go with Consumer Reports and say, I'm gonna get a Toyota, Lexus, or now BMW, because it does not have a propensity to fail, right? So it's just one of those things. I'm not saying that I would exclude everything. There would be special circumstances, but I try to be pragmatic about it when I make these type of choices, because you're going to have to live with that forever. And facts are, people bring generational curses with them. A lot of people don't break that. And I'm just going with, I try not to, because we always talk about females when we say, oh, y'all think about, possibilities rather than probabilities. So I just kind of use that same logic that we preach a lot of the time.
That's a fair statement. I don't think it's anything exactly wrong with it. I was just saying, due to the way the family circumstances, like I came out the crack era, we came out a lot of different. So families might be different. You know what I'm saying? So I try to kind of make room for that. But the other thing is why willingness is so important. So like, for instance, with conflict resolution, like you could come from a family that they fight, they yell and scream and they fight. Like my wife, she don't want to do nothing like that. So I end up in a relationship with nobody I never had a fight with, because she might have looked at that and said, that's never going to be me. That's not how I want to operate. Or the structure that I set up when she signed up for it, she said, okay, I understand I want to be with him enough that I'm going to make sure I don't operate like this, because I know this is not something he's going to tolerate. And we're going to discuss this like adults. You know, if you need some space or personal time to calm down, and you got it. But we're not going to be hurling insults and negativity back at each other. We're going to move forward and try and figure out what's wrong, how to move forward, as opposed to blame and I'm going to hold you accountable. Like, you know what I'm saying?
No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, but you know, a lot of the problem is, like you said, we're coming from these different families, and the women are giving, you know, raising the young men, and they're missing that masculine element, you know, that pizzazz, that swag. and sometimes you just don't have it, you know what I'm saying? And you shouldn't be trying to get some wife and things like that, and like you just don't have it, you know what I'm saying? Get a mentor, invest in yourself, like Mr. Darwin, or people that have reputable marriages. There's some things, if you know if you're not having this, you know, success, go find it. Go to your dad, go rehash the relationship with your dad at this point. You know, you're big enough to do that. Fix some things, heal those traumas, and move forward. Also, it's more detrimental for a woman to really vet herself for a mate, because she's attaching herself to this man's leadership and covering. And if this guy is bad, or you know, he's putting that mask on, then it falls, you're like, oh my God, what did I get into? Now you 3 children in it. This is crazy. But still, we understand that we still have to perform inside of a marriage, and you can't necessarily get out of it, you know what I'm saying? So it's just really detrimental for people to really vet extensively. Ask those questions, ask them hard questions. I don't care where they came from. Your parents didn't protect you, so this and that. Ask the hard questions about the touching and this and that, because I'll guarantee you, like he said, that generational curse, it'll try to find its way to your children in some shape, way, or form. And we often always focus on the physical part, the money part, the financial part, but the spiritual part is just as important as all of that, even more important. And we can't make a baddie or whoever, we can't make these physical people into something that they're not. If the lady is not a wife, she's not a wife. If the man is not a husband, he doesn't show the characteristics of a husband, he is not a husband. You cannot change him. Your cooch cannot change him. The thing can't change the woman. No amount of money, it's not going to do it, because you're just making a transaction at that point. And that needs to be highlighted in the community as well, because we think that if we arrive and have the money, that the money can sway any situation, and I can buy her attention, I can buy her some. No, that's not how it's supposed to be. And I think we've got it up on its head at this point.